I recently came across a type of, should I say, suggestion that there may be another version of me, an AI version. Now, how will you know the real from the fake? It's going to be very hard to tell. So just know that I don't threaten people. I don't say ill stuff about people. In fact, I don't do anything that violates laws, such as hijacking people's identities or shoot, man, you know, I'm usually very, very peaceful. The Bible tells us to be angry, but do not sin. Mhm, You know, so that means he knows that we're going to get angry because these days you got people that are doing things that will make you very, very angry, extremely angry. And it's like, I don't know. Do they enjoy seeing people in turmoil? Maybe they do because, and now I just realized it. I'm actually crying for these people, even though they don't deserve my tears. Because I'm starting to believe hearing people lamentate makes them feel better. And that does not do any healing for anybody. So if people's lamentations make them feel better, then they're not healing. And if they're not healing, they can't lead people in healing. That means that whoever it is that they're causing to lamentate has to forgive them so that that so that the anger doesn't put poison in their heart and give room for demons to come into their heart and do the same thing to them that they've done to the ones who are causing lamentations. Because demons do not want real love to spread. Demons want hate and everything that is anti-God to spread. So if demons or something wicked is in control, it's going to be something that looks like the real thing, but it acts on opposite principles, causing people to feel anger, despair, hurt, hate, instead of love, joy, peace, and hope. You know, these are attributes that come from God. Hey, what's going on? All right. These are attributes that come from God. And without God strengthening you and those spirits pulling you down, there's nothing to give you strength to stand with all that stuff. You know, one of the main things is you cannot give what you don't have. If you don't have love, you can't give love. If you only got is hate, then that's the only thing that you're going to give is hate. And the hate is what spreads instead of the love. But it tells us that love, these are attributes that come from God because that's who He is. He's love. So if there's any kind of love that's spread apart from him, then it can only end badly. Now, where is the truth that demonstrates that? You know, the word amet is Hebrew for truth. Now, truth is not the same as true, because what's true is dynamic, which means it can change. And what's truth is systemic, which means it does not change. God's truth is systemic, which means it does not change. But truth, what's true is dynamic because it can change. Like for instance, right now I'm walking on a bridge. That's true. What's true right now is I'm standing with the fence to my back, but that can change because now what's true is that I'm not standing with the fence behind me. What was true before was that I was standing still, but that's no longer true right now. What's true right now is that I'm walking again. So that's the difference between dynamic truth and systemic truth. See, the wicked one uses dynamic truths, which he'll then change up on you because there is no love in anything that the wicked spirits give you or do for you. Because everything is meant to lead your life into destruction. Now, why do they want to destroy you? Is it just because they do? Uh, oh, well, before I do that, I was explaining, what truth is. Truth in Hebrew is the word amet, A-M-E-T, amet. And amet in Hebrew is spelled with Hebrew letters. The Hebrew letters are building blocks, components, because see, in Hebrew, the letters are built. The words are built versus the English language we speak, which is a phonetic language, which is you see the word and you hear the sound, and that lets you know that it's talking about something else. See, there is no power in the English language, just understanding. But there's power in the word of God itself. And the word of God that he spoke comes in a language that is a composition. You know. Now, an example of that is salt. If we've been to school, I believe at least maybe up to the 12th grade, salt is composed of 1 part sodium, 1 part chloride. Mhm. So when you put the sodium and the chloride together, 1 part to 1 part, what you get is salt. And so the chemical composition of salt is sodium's abbreviation on the periodic table of elements is Na, and chloride on the periodic table is Cl. So when you see NaCl together, if you know that salt is 1 part sodium and 1 part chloride, you're going to know it's salt. It's the same with water, H2O. Now that's easier because everybody knows this. So when you see H2O written, you know it's water because it's 1 part oxygen and 2 parts hydrogen. These are the components of water, just like you have the components of salt. So this is the same language. This is the same with Hebrew. The building blocks are components of what the thing is. So in Hebrew, truth is amet. Amet is spelled with the Hebrew alphabet, which is the first letter in the Hebrew alphabet, which is Aleph. You know, just a side note, the very first two letters in Hebrew is first Aleph, and the second letter is Beit. So this is where we get the word alphabet from. This is where you get alpha. Alpha is the Aleph, which is the first letter in the Hebrew alphabet. And then you got the last letter in the Hebrew alphabet is Tav, T-A-V. But if you're ever wondering where it says, I am the Alpha and the Omega, when Jesus says this in the Hebrew, and I'm sorry, in the Revelations, I am the Alpha and the Omega. Now, that's because in Greek, the Alpha is the first letter in the alphabet, and Omega is the last letter in the alphabet. So the first letter is the beginning, and the last letter is the ending. That's what it means when it says, I'm the Alpha and the Omega. I'm the beginning and the ending. I am the first and the last. So when you break down the very first word of the Bible, you will see that he is being described in Hebrew. Now, more on that one later. I would rather put up the video of the teacher who taught it because nobody can do it better than him. I'm just resourcing what he taught. Oh, so you see, if Jesus, whose Hebrew name is Yeshua, if at the time that he spoke those words, and because, you know, his lineage comes from the Hebrews, when he first came, he came for the lost sheep of Israel. That means that he was speaking to them in Hebrew. You know, when he spoke to what's his name, Saul. When he spoke to Saul, whose name was changed to Paul, he spoke to him in the native tongue, and Paul testifies that he spoke to him in the native language. Now you got different scriptures that say he spoke in Arabic, but the one that we trusted before all of these others came out was the King James Version. And the King James Version says he spoke in the Hebrew tongue. And it makes sense because if he's Hebrews and he came and spoke with the Hebrews, he would have spoken the Hebrew language. And he told them his name in Hebrew. So in Hebrew, his name is Yeshua. So that means that's what he said. I am Yeshua. Now this doesn't change who he is because he never changes. It just helps us to understand that if we're going to really get to know him, then we need to study the language that he spoke. Again, it's made to where it's not hard. It's just simple. So if he would have said, you know, where it says in the Bible, I am the Alpha and the Omega. If he was speaking the Hebrew when he spoke to John, who was also a Hebrew, he would have said, I am the Aleph Tav. I'm the beginning and the ending, the first and the last. So in the first letter is Amet, it's an Aleph, and an Aleph is composed of two hands and a nail. The last letter is Tav, and the last letter means a cross or a covenant. Now, when it was originally written, because this language has changed over 3 times. The last letter was actually a cross. Ooh. Okay, so when he says that I am the truth, because the truth is in the name of God. How? Because Aleph means God, Mem, which is a letter near the middle of the alphabet, means the might of the ocean. And the last letter, Tav, means cross of covenant. So when we put this together, we see the truth. Truth, what the truth is God's mighty covenant. That's the truth. But then, if you actually try to remove the first letter, which is Aleph, which represents God, from the rest of the word, if you separate that and remove it, then what you got left is 2 letters, Mem and Tav, which spells Math. Math is short for Methuselah. You may have heard of him as a man who lived to be the oldest than any human, 969 years. And a prophecy was given that his death shall bring. That's what his name means. So, and that was when he died, and soon after, depending on the flood came. So what you see is when you try to separate God from his mighty covenant, or when you try to separate God from the truth, then all you got left is death. So that's the message there, JT.